Hey, I'm excited for today. I'm grateful that you're here. Those who are with us for the first time, welcome. We're grateful for you to be here. Thanks for trusting us with your Sunday morning. And those online, welcome. Whether you're live at 10 or maybe it's 8 o'clock right now, I don't know. And we're just glad you're here. We're glad you're joining us. And man, I think that when we step into God's house, I think if we could see what's going on in the other realm, I think our heart posture would be different. From the moment we step into God's presence and worship, I think God has spoken more promises than we know how to handle. We don't have room enough in our life to handle all that God has for us. And I think it comes down to our expectation. And I hope that you've come in today. I hope you logged in today with anybody with expectation today. I just believe God's going to speak. I believe God's going to do something. And I think oftentimes our experience will follow the level of our expectation. And so if you have low expectation, I don't know what you'll experience today. But I think if you're leaned in, if you're open, if you're ready, I think God will do something in your life. You believe it? Yeah, I do too. And I'm excited for today. We're kicking off a brand new series called Picture Perfect. Picture Perfect. And we're going to teach you how to have the picture perfect life. I'm just kidding. I saw a couple first-time guests like, what is this? And this series is actually about the moments in life that doesn't feel picture perfect. This is about the moments in life where your picture falls apart, where the disappointments and the frustrations of life kind of shatter the image and the vision that you once had for life. And we're not just going to talk about it, though. We're going to see what does the Bible have to say. I think there's a misconception, right, about people who follow Jesus. And sometimes we look at people who follow Jesus and we can assume before we follow Jesus that people who follow Jesus think that following Jesus makes everything good. It's just, it's good, everything is good, and we're floating on clouds with the angels. But the truth about following Jesus is not follow Jesus and everything will be good. It's follow Jesus and he has the power and authority to work everything together for the good. He can turn it around for the good. He can use it for the good. He can work anything together for the good. In fact, Jesus says this in John 16, verse 33. He says, in this world, you will have trouble. Not what I was hoping Jesus would have said. I was hoping he would have said, in this world, it will all be good. Picture perfect. But I love that Jesus is real with us. He's like, I want you to calibrate your expectation. You will have trouble. But then he says this, but take heart, because I have overcome the world. Come on, we serve a God who can take the bad stuff, the dark stuff, the frustrating stuff, and he can turn it around and work it for the good. And so I want to kick off our series today by looking at a story with you. If you have a Bible or the LHT Church app, you can turn to Ruth, the book of Ruth. And if you remain standing with me for just a moment, we're going to read and we'll stand to honor God's word. And Ruth chapter 1, if you don't have a Bible, you don't have the app, and you have no storage on your phone to download the app, we will have it on the screen in just a moment. But I want to kick off this series with Ruth chapter 1. And what I want to do is I'm going to read the beginning of chapter 1 and then the end of chapter 1. Sound good? Yeah. All right, I'm glad. There was no plan B. And if y'all would have booed, I had no other option. Ruth chapter 1. In the days when the judges ruled, a judge before Israel had kings, they had judges, the leaders in the land. And back in those days when the judges ruled, there was a famine in the land. So a man from Bethlehem, which by the way means house of bread, there's a lot of irony in the first chapter, and you got to kind of look close to see it. But I'll point a couple of them out. A man from the house of bread in Judah, together with his wife and 2 sons, went to live for a while in the country of Moab. The man's name was Elimelech, and his wife's name was Naomi. And the name of his 2 sons were Mahlon and Kilian. Good Irish boys. You know, meat and potatoes, but Kilian and his cousin Guinness. And they were Ephrathites from Bethlehem, Judah. And they went to Moab and lived there. Now, Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died. Oh, by the way, Mahlon means suffering, and Kilian means sickness. Now, Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left with sickness and suffering. And they married Moabite women. One was named Orpah, and the other Ruth. And after they had lived there about 10 years, both Mahlon and Kilian also died. And Naomi was left without her 2 sons and her husband. So the story starts, and there's this family, and there's famine in the house of bread. This isn't supposed to happen. This is the place of plenty. This is the place of provision. This is the place where God always, and all of a sudden it's dried up and we got to leave. And they travel to a foreign land. And as they arrive there, Naomi's husband and her sons die. What happens is Naomi hears that the famine in Bethlehem is over. And she decides, I'm going to go back. But before she heads back home, she turns to her 2 daughters-in-law, Orpah and Ruth. And she says, listen, I don't want you to feel an obligation to come with me. You're young. Go remarry. Go live your life. Go do your thing. And Orpah says, peace. She's like, all right, sounds good. And I'm grateful for that, because now I don't have to struggle with almost saying Oprah. Peace. Orpah is out. We no longer, and now it's just Ruth. But Ruth says something different. She says, no way. I can't leave you. She says, where you go, I'll go. Your God will be my God. I can't leave you during this time. Drop down to verse 19. It says, and so the 2 women, Naomi and Ruth, they went on until they came to Bethlehem. When they arrived in Bethlehem, the town was stirred because of them. And the women exclaimed, could this be Naomi? Don't call me Naomi. Her name means pleasant. She told them, call me Mara, which means bitter, because the Almighty has made my life very bitter. I went away full, but the Lord has brought me back empty. Why call me pleasant? The Lord has afflicted me. The Almighty has brought misfortune upon me. And so Naomi returned from Moab, accompanied by Ruth, the Moabite, her daughter-in-law, arriving in Bethlehem as the barley harvest was beginning. Today, I want to share a message that I'm going to call alternate ending. Alternate ending. Anybody in the house today can use an alternate ending in some situations and struggles right now. Alternate ending. Would you bow your heads and pray with me? Father, we love you so much. We are grateful for your provision. We are grateful for your love. God, we come before you today. We are open. God, I pray for each person here that is believing for some kind of alternate ending. God, that you, by your power, by your spirit, would work miracles in this house. God, we love you, praise you, and pray it all in the strong name of Jesus. And everybody said, amen. You can find your seats. Thank you, worship team. Hey, as you find your seat, why don't you make some noise for our team? We appreciate our teams, all of our teams, right? Somebody checked your temperature when you came in and checked your kids in downstairs and prepared the production. Man, so many people make this happen. Make it happen. Hey, anybody ever tried to sell you something, like really sell you on something? And so you picked it up, like not like literally sell, but sell you on something. And then you were like, I'll pick up what you're laying down, and you picked it up, and what you picked up was different than what they were selling you on. My I love my mom. As a matter of fact, speaking of people serving, my mom, I believe, is serving right now on our online host team all the way from North Carolina. How good is that? Hey, worldwide fam, you can serve from anywhere. Send us an email, get you hooked up. But I love my mom. But I think my mom loves two things, perhaps more than she even loves me. And those two things are, number one, she loves this. She absolutely is enamored with talking about how little salt she uses in her recipes. Is this true? Matter of fact, the other day I sent my mom a text and I was like, Mom, can you send me the family meatball recipe? My grandma's from Italy, and so it's been passed down. And so I said, Mom, can you send me and I turned to Em. You can, if I'm lying, stand up. And I said, watch. When this recipe comes in, somewhere on this list, it's gonna say salt, but not too much salt. She loves putting the least amount of salt, regardless of how much salt is actually needed to make it edible. She loves it. Second thing my mom loves, perhaps more than she loves her kids, is relax, y'all. It's just a joke. What she loves is she loves paying less for something. Like she loves seeing the brand name thing and then searching for like an off-brand version of the thing that she can pay less for. And she loves it. Does she not love it? And she loves talking about how little salt she uses and how much money she saved. I think I picked up, definitely not the first one, because I put salt on everything. But the second one, I think in some regards I have picked up on. I love a deal. Anybody in the house today love a deal? A few Christmases ago, we were in the mall and there was a kiosk. How many of y'all you're just eternally grateful for the kiosk people in the mall? Yeah, they'll run up to you with lotion and they'll just start squirting it on you. You know what I mean? I think one time this dude just like walked up to Pastor Emily and just started straightening her hair. This is just like, check this out. And so we usually run from the kiosk people, but there was this one, and we were in the mall, it was right around Christmas time, and this guy was selling these boxes, and the boxes had the Nintendo logo on it and Super Mario on it. And what he was selling was all like 500 Nintendo games in this little box, just like the original. And I just lit up. Like I love, anybody Mario fans, Super Mario fans, regular Mario, I love it. So I was like, it's $29.99. I'm picking it up. I'm picking up what he's laying down. We took it home. Hey, you ever listen to a podcast on like 1.5 speed? Anybody like tried to do all these like productivity people will try to get you on this. We'll listen at 1.5 speed. I listen at 1.5 speed and I go nuts. I just like, it just fills me with anxiety. But you ever played Mario at 1.5 speed with the theme song at 1.5 speed? It is the most anxious thing. I remember plugging this thing in. I think I even invited Brian over. I was like, come on, come break in Mario with me. And we plugged it in and the music is all off. It's like 1.5 speed. I'm just super anxious. Mario jumps like 6 feet in the air and floats down. And I was like, this is not what he sold me on. It's a frustrating thing, is it not? Somebody sells you on something. In fact, speaking of Brian and I, one time we went to this, I have to cloak this. So I don't know, we're growing as a church. I don't want to call anyone out. We went to a local eatery. That's all I'll say. And because somebody was telling us, you got to go here. It's amazing. It's mind blowing. You will walk out of there just meeting Jesus for a fresh time. You've got to go there. So me and Brian went there one time and I knew it was going to be good because they handed us the menu and it was beautiful. Beautiful. And by beautiful, I mean soaked in syrup. Syrup or syrup? I just need to know who I'm talking to. Syrup people, syrup? Got a few syrup people. Okay. That has nothing to do with the story. I just want to know My pronunciations are very malleable. Like I'm one of those people, I'll go to Europe for 10 days. I'm the kind of person that comes back with the accent. You know, I just will become like whatever's around me. I'll just start caramel, it's up to you. I'll say it however. So, but we walk in, we get handed these menus and it's just syrup, but it was okay because the syrup on the menus matched the syrup on the carpet. It was a whole vibe. And so we sat down and opened the menu and knew it was gonna be fresh because there was like 1,700 items on the menu. And of course it's gonna be fresh if there's that many things on the item. So we sat down to eat. It was the worst experience of our lives. We both left. We left Yelp reviews, you know what I mean? We condemned and kicked the person, you know what I mean, out of our friend group that invited us to go there. It's terrible when somebody will try to sell you on something and then you do it and it's not what they sold you on. But you know what's worse than somebody else selling you on something that doesn't live up to your expectations? It's when you sell yourself on something and it doesn't line up to your own expectations. And I'm not just talking about like eateries and Mario. I'm talking about like marriages and finances and career and what my life is gonna look like, because we have these pictures that we craft. And this is what life is gonna look like. This is what it's gonna be. And we sell ourselves on it. We get excited about it. And then we're living it, and what we sold ourselves on doesn't line up with what we have. What do you do when what you had in mind doesn't line up with the moment? What do you do? What do you do when your expectations don't line up with your experience? Sometimes I wish life was like one of those choose your adventure books. You ever have one of those as a kid? No? I'll tell you about it. You would read the first chapter and then you would guess, choose your adventure. It's amazing. And so then whatever adventure you chose, you would skip to that chapter and then you would choose your adventure and you go to the next chapter. But the cool thing about the choose your adventure book, if you ain't like the adventure you were on, you could just go back in time to chapter 1, pick a new adventure. Man, how good would it be if life was like that? You're like, oh, they're gonna betray me in a year and a half. I'm gonna skip back to chapter 1 so I can avoid it. Oh, all that stuff that I didn't understand was veiled, narcissistic, toxic stuff. Oh, let me go back in time 6 years and save myself half a decade of nonsense. But life is not like a choose your adventure book. Life is more like a deal with your adventure book. And the thing is you can't change your moments. We're all aware of this. You can't change your moments, but I want to challenge you with this today. Though you cannot change your moments, you can choose their meaning. You can't change the moments that you've been through and the moments of life, but you can choose their meaning. Let me say it like this. You can't change what you go through, but what you go through will always change you. And it is not a matter of if this will change me, if this experience will change me, if this relationship will change me, if this career will change me, if this money will change me, if this position. No, it will change you. The question is not if, it is how. And you cannot change your moments, but every moment you go through in life, it will impact you. It will shape you. Really, life, what is it? It's an amalgamation of the moments and experiences that we have and how they end up shaping us. The moments always shape us, and it is not a question of if, it's a question of how. And I think this is perhaps the part of suffering, the part of the difficult experiences, the pain and disappointment that most of us get wrong. And here's the truth. Every disappointment comes with decisions. Every disappointment comes with decisions. Some of us, we live in this realm of thinking, well, I can't change what happened to me. So I guess we'll have to wait and see how it changes me. You ever realize how sometimes you don't even realize the impact something had on you until years down the road? And somebody's like, hey, you don't trust anybody. And you're like, yeah. But if you saw what Jamie wrote about me on MySpace 9 years ago, I don't know. Sometimes you can't even see the impact and the change and transformation that has taken place in your heart until it's exposed years down the line. Hey, you're really guarded in your relationships. And it's not until you really process it and have somebody that you can talk about it with that you realize, oh yeah, I'm really guarded in my relationship because there was a relationship back then that really hurt me. And now I live my life with walls up to protect myself. Hey, you're suspicious of people's intentions. Yeah, I am. Here's the thing about life and being shaped by what you go through. Positive transformation is not a game of chance. And in fact, let me say it like this. While experiences are often by chance and not by choice, transformation, that's positive, is always by choice and not by chance. You see it? Experiences are often by chance and not by choice. But the transformation you want in your life will always be by choice and not by chance. Moments and experiences, I didn't choose this. I didn't want this to happen. I didn't want Mario to be running at 1.5 speed, floating up in the air. I had a picture of what this would be. No, the experiences will often happen by chance, but transformation in the wake of those experiences always will happen by choice. I choose the meaning of this moment. This will be by choice, and I will not leave it up to chance. Who I become is up to me. Let me say it like this. I'm just trying to break it down further and further and further, but I want to say it like this. Moments come by chance. Meaning comes by choice. I wonder how much energy you and I spend thinking about what it would be like if the moments were different. Am I alone in this? Spending like a lot of time thinking about if things had been different. If I had done something different, if they had done something different, I tell Pastor Emily all the time, I'm like, I can't believe I spent so long in grad school. I cannot, and she's like, well, it's good, it helps us. I'm like, it was not good. It drained the life out of me. I wish I would have went like still obviously called to be a pastor, but I need different experiences. I wish I would have went to business school. I wish I would have went to like leadership school. I wish I would have got all this. We spend so much time thinking about what it would be like if life was different. What would it have been like if I didn't trust that person and give them my heart and then they crushed it? What would it have been like if that person wouldn't have betrayed me? What it would have been like if I wouldn't have made that bad investment? What would it have been like if I didn't switch careers and I just would have stuck it out where I was? What would it have been like if I did switch careers and I didn't? We spend so much of our energy and our time and our effort thinking about what we could do if the moments were different. But what I want you to know today is the moments can't be different, but the meaning can. Some of us have attached meaning to moments in our lives and we're walking around cynical and jaded and hurt. But what if you could flip the meaning? You could flip the meaning of those painful moments and said, no, they didn't walk out on me. God freed me up. God took them out of my life to free me up. What if we just simply changed the meaning? Can't change the moments, but you can choose the meaning. The dangerous thing about moments of disappointment, though, is we begin to think there is no choice. we begin to think, well, there's nothing I can do. This is just the way it is. I was betrayed, so I can't trust. I wish there was something I could do about it, but I can't. I was hurt, and that's why I'm cynical. I've lost something, and that's why I'm angry. And we view disappointments like decisions that have been made for us. Like suffering has robbed us of options. Well, this happened, and therefore that's just the way it is. But I actually think the most incredible, inspiring people that you know, the people that tell their stories, are not people who said, it's just the way it was. But rather it's the people that say, oh, it was tough. It was so painful. I lost, I was hurt, I was broken, but I could choose to just simply become what happened or elevate out of it, choose the meaning, grow from it, and decide that I'm not gonna be trapped in what happened. I'm gonna choose it. I can be trapped by it, or I can choose something new. And the truth is that the decisions I make in the wake of disappointment will be the decisions that determine my destiny and my direction in life. When the disappointment comes, you have choices. What are you gonna choose? What meaning will you attach to those moments? Because the decisions you make in the wake of disappointment will be the decisions that determine your direction and your destiny, and probably a lot of other D words, but aren't you proud of me? I felt like 5 into that sentence. But there are some decisions that you can make in the wake of disappointment that open you up to an alternate ending. Ruth chapter 1, Naomi sets off with her family. By all accounts, this is a wise thing to do. There's no food here. There's no food for Killian and Guinness. There's no potatoes here. So I need to go find some food. And what she experiences is one of the greatest losses you could possibly imagine. She loses her whole family, her husband and her sons. And now she is alone in a foreign land. She hears the famine's over, so she heads back. And in the wake of disappointment, those gathered around say, oh, it's Naomi. It's pleasant. She always had a smile on her face. She always had an encouraging word. So this is pleasant coming back. And she says, oh, don't call me pleasant anymore. Call me bitter. Because the Lord has made my life bitter. In the wake of disappointment, she makes a decision. Don't call me pleasant, call me bitter. Can you blame her? Can you blame the pain? I mean, I can't even imagine losing all of that. Bitterness is perhaps the most natural reaction. It's the most natural response to loss and disappointment. And when the picture perfect life that you've created in your mind gets shattered into a million pieces and you don't know where to go from here, the reason why all of us are like, oh no, I couldn't blame her. Because we know this is natural. This is the most natural reaction. This is how we're built. When we get disappointed and we get bitter and we live with it for so long and we repress it and we suppress it down into the recesses of our soul. And it's very, very difficult to live anything different when we've experienced disappointment. But just because it's the most natural thing doesn't mean it's the only thing. It's not the only option. Matter of fact, point number 1, let's say it like this. Here's the first option: to get bitter or to become better. Yeah. To get bitter or to get better. Notice what she says is not, hey, I experienced some bitter stuff. You notice what she says? I am bitter. I didn't just go through it. It's got through me. I have now become my disappointment. I have become what went wrong in my life. I have become who betrayed me. I have become what failed me. I've not just gone through it, it's gotten through me. The truth is, when you go through difficulty and when your picture perfect idea of life gets shattered into a million pieces, there's only one direction you can go. You can't change the moments. You can only choose to go forward. And as you go forward, you can choose what those moments mean now. You can allow those disappointments to define you, or you can choose to mourn it, grieve it, name it, and move on from it. I'll mourn what I need to mourn. I'll grieve what I need to grieve. I'll give myself grace to process the pain. I'll talk to people who can help me get it out, who can help me categorize it, name it, walk through it. But I refuse to allow what I've lost to define the rest of my life. I refuse to allow myself to live in the bitterness and live in the pain so that I can go through it without it going through me. And we don't choose the entirety of our stories, but we choose the meaning we attach to those stories. And Naomi says, bitter is not just what happened to me. It's what happened within me. How in the midst of loss can you choose to be better? I was on the phone this week and I was talking to someone in the church. And this person throughout their life, like there are the people that you can't fathom experiencing what they experienced. And I was talking to her on the phone and this is how I opened the conversation. I said, man, I'm so sorry. I can't believe, I'm so sorry. And she on the other end interrupts me politely. She's like, you know what, Pastor? God's been so good. She's laughing on the other. She's like, you know what? It's been so hard. It's been so difficult. It's been painful. And there have been moments, she's like, but you know what? When I look back over my life, I see how God, he kept me and carried me and provided for me. And I'm sitting on the other line like, man, how in the world can you experience all that you have experienced and still have a smile on your face, still not become what you've been through, not allow yourself to become the bitterness, but on the other hand, encourage people for what they're going through. Oh, when I think about it though, God has been so good to me. She said, there's so much more to be grateful for than there is to be bitter about. Psalm 71 verse 20, David goes through some stuff. He says this, though you have made me see troubles many and bitter, you will restore my life again. From the depths of the earth, you will bring me up again. See what David says? He says, I am not bitter, but I've been through bitter. I've been through bitter, but I'm coming out better because you're the God who can reach down even into the depths of the earth, even into the darkest places, and you can restore my life again. You can do something fresh. You can do something new. You can shape me and mold me. You can make me stronger. You can use my story to encourage those around me. I've been through bitter, but I refuse to become what I've been through. You got to be careful when bitter is the lens that you look through, because all of life will pass through that lens. And bitter will color every blessing that comes into your life. This is essentially what Naomi does. You notice what she said in the text? She said, I went away full and I came back empty. And Ruth is standing there like harsh. That's harsh. Because I just gave up my whole life to be with you. I gave up everything I had, my future, my possibilities, my own vision, my own dreams. I gave it up to stand by your side, and here you are telling people, I went away full and I came back empty with nothing and with nobody. Second option that suffering gives us is bitter or better, and then I can be closed or I can choose to be open. I can choose to be open to what's to come. In fact, the whole story starts out because there's a famine. The land is empty. And Naomi's plan is to go to a land where there's fullness. I'm going to go away empty, and I'm going to come back full. And Naomi's back, people knowing I left empty. The plan is to come back full. And Naomi comes back and she's like, I left full and I came back empty. Naomi needs that one friend that's just honest no matter the situation. She's like, you went away full? You were starving to death. You named your sons sickness and suffering. You got those friends that are always talking about the good old days, and you're like, I was there in the good old days. It wasn't that good. It wasn't that good. She needs somebody perhaps to just simply say, I know you think you went away full. This is what disappointment can do. Disappointment can distort our view of what used to be. Oh, it was so good. I had it all. It was amazing. I can't believe the life I used to have. And perhaps you need that person that's like, it wasn't that good. Not to downplay the trauma and not to downplay the pain and the grief, but there was sickness and suffering back then as well. There was emptiness back then as well. In fact, you left here to go be filled up. You're empty again, but it's the same kind of empty. It's just a different flavor. It's not to downplay what you've been through, but it's to say, you left hurting. You came back, and you can't change what happened, but you can choose where you go from here. I came back empty. And as she's talking about coming back empty, Ruth is standing next to her. Ruth is with her, ready to serve her, ready to offer her support and love and help. But she's so closed off because the disappointment has closed her off. She can't even see. Disappointment will blind you to the blessings that God is bringing in your life today. I'm so trapped in what I lost back then that I cannot see what God is trying to do right now. I'm so closed off because of the pain and the hurt that I cannot see that right beside me is somebody that's with me, that believes in me, that cares for me, that hopes in me, that wants to serve. I've allowed myself to become so closed off. Disappointment can close you off to everything around you, and it can seep into our souls. I've been hurt before, I'm done with that. You can become bitter or better. You can become closed or you can become open. The third thing is this. You can see it as an ending or as a beginning. In fact, let me show you the last line of the text that we read today. Verse 22. It says, and so Naomi returned from Moab, accompanied by Ruth the Moabite, her daughter-in-law, arriving in Bethlehem as the barley harvest was beginning. Naomi believes because of what has happened, this is the end. Oh, but the narrator wants you to see something Naomi can't see. That while she thinks it is the end of her story, there's another story just beginning. There's another story brewing up beneath the surface that she is unaware of at the moment. She comes in believing it's over. And in the midst of believing it's over, the narrator winks at us and says, oh, but the barley harvest was just beginning. Because what Naomi doesn't know is that the beginning of the harvest will allow Ruth to go and to glean in a field. And in the field, she's gonna meet somebody named Boaz. And she's gonna marry Boaz. And they're gonna have a son named Obed. And Obed is gonna have a son named Jesse. And Jesse is gonna have a son named David. And David is gonna be the great-grandfather of Jesus, who came and who offered every single person in this room a new beginning. Don't close yourself off. Don't call an end what the God of resurrection calls a new beginning. I can do something with this that you never imagined I could do. Hey, I wonder what the narrator is speaking over your life right now. Some of us in here today thinking it's over, thinking it's gone, thinking it's lost, thinking it's past. Hey, can I speak on the narrator's behalf over your life? And he says, oh, they thought it was over, but the harvest was just beginning. The harvest was just getting started. There was a new story that was being written. There was another chapter being added to the end of the book. Oh, I wasn't done. It was just the beginning. Come on, stand up on your feet with me, because God is a God who can turn it around. He can take what the enemy